We're going to transform the sine and cosine graphs. The number in front of the function that's being multiplied stretches it or shrinks it. And so, for example, if a is 2, it's going to be a vertical stretch by 2, which affects our amplitude, remember, which is the height from the midline to the max or the midline to the min. In this case, the amplitude would be 2. If a is 1/2, we see that it shrinks it. If a is -2, it's going to be a reflection also, and the amplitude, remember, is still +2 because amplitude is height, which is always positive. Then we have b. B is the hard one. B is the coefficient of x. So for sine and cosine, b tells us the number of cycles that's in 2 pi. If b is 2, for example, there's going to be 2 cycles in 2 pi. If b is 1/2, it's going to be 2 pi. It's going to be 1/2 of a cycle is in 2 pi. H deals with horizontal shifting, and we call that phase shifting. K is vertical shifting. The amplitude in this example is +1/2. Remember, height always makes it positive. The period, so we need to know the b value. Remember, b isn't the period, but it helps us find the period. So there's 2 complete cycles in 2 pi, which would mean that there's 1 cycle in pi. 1 cycle has length pi. Or you can always do, to find the period, you can always do 2 pi divided by b for sine and cosine. And in this case, b is 2. That would be 2 pi divided by 2, which is pi. If b was 1/2, we know that there would be 1/2 of a cycle in 2 pi, which would make the whole thing 4 pi length. And if you wanted to try it this way, 2 pi divided by 1/2, you can multiply by 2 to the top and bottom. 2's cancel in the denominator. We get 4 pi over 1, which is 4 pi. So if you like to do it by thinking about it and picturing the graph, you can. If you like to do it algebraically, where you do 2 pi divided by b, you can do that as well. Vertical shifting, we have a +1 on the outside, so it's going to be going up 1. This negative out in front is reflecting it, just like, again, with another parent function that you know, if there's a negative in front, it's going to reflect it across the x-axis. Phase shifts, we want to set the inside equal to 0. That's 2x minus pi over 2 equals 0. X here is our variable. Don't get confused by that pi over 2. We want to isolate the 2x first. We add pi over 2. And then we could divide by 2. I would like to avoid a fraction and a fraction, so I'm instead going to multiply by 1/2 to both sides. Now we have x equals pi over 4, which means our graph shifted right pi over 4.